What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, definitely share the video, and if you can, leave a comment. Comments are important. I think you're going to like this one. We got a guest on that spent some time in prison. Actually, she was sentenced to a lot of time in prison. She lived a different life, but since then, she's doing big things. So we're going to talk to her. Teresa, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, tell them where you're from, and talk a little bit about your situation.
Hi, my name is Teresa Potter. I'm from Springfield, Missouri. I went to prison in 2010 on a 12-year sentence. Did 7 years flat my first time down. Got out, did okay for like 16 months, and then got in trouble again. Got back out and have changed my life. I went through a year-long recovery program where I became the house manager. Then started working at a law office, using a degree for paralegal that I hadn't used in 20 years. Been working at the law office for about 2.5 years and trying to give back every day.
That's what's up. So let's talk. How old were you when you went to prison?
34.
34 years old. What was it for?
A couple of counts of drug distribution, a burglary, drug possession. There's kind of a slew of charges, all related to drug sales and usage. So
I hear your dog barking over there.
I know. I tell my son to keep him quiet.
It's all good. So you go to prison. Were you addicted to meth?
I would say I was. I was a functioning addict. I worked 2 jobs, but I was also a single mom. So it was work 2 jobs, go home, put my kids to bed, then go out all night to sell the drugs and try to make enough money that I accustomed my kids to.
So you were in prison. What prison were you at?
Missouri.
And I know there was some stuff going on over there with not just one staff member, but a bunch of staff members, right?
Yes.
Tell the people about that.
There's multiple women that have came forward about guards raping them while they were in jail. My best friend was the first one that came forward. And from there, just other women. I'm sure it happens even more than people come forward about. And I just want women to know to be strong, that they can share their story, that they did not deserve that.
Yeah, I want to talk about, because I did a little research after, you had reached out to me, and I did a little bit of research and I read about it. So one of them was the cop, right? The cop, he sexually assaulted like 10 different women at the prison. What was that cop's name?
Bearden.
Your volume's going down a little bit.
Bearden.
All right, Bearden. So I pulled up Bearden's picture, and I wanted to see, because, I want to make sure that if I'm interviewing you, that this is what's really going on. A lot of people hear these stories about, women having sex in prison with guards, and they think, oh, they're not being raped. They're, the guards giving them stuff, and they know what they're doing. Is that the type of situation they had going on over there?
I think that happens sometimes, but on that officer's instances, I don't believe that was what was happening.
What made the women come forward? Did they do it? Did they all do it at one time? Did one go say something?
One came forward and then more and more came out.
Did you know about it when it was happening? Keep it real now.
I knew he was very inappropriate. I didn't know. When I first went to prison, they were still allowed to pat us down. So it was like creep line when we'd come out of like the chow hall.
Yeah.
You got male guards on both sides and they're allowed to pat the females down, and they act like you might have something in places that they shouldn't be touching you. So we would protect my one friend in particular, so that, maybe she wouldn't get stopped, because the officers get to routinely pick who gets stopped. So I definitely knew he was inappropriate, just not how inappropriate.
Was he ever inappropriate towards you?
No.
Never said nothing, never did nothing?
I'm kind of loud spoken, so I don't know. Maybe unapproachable. Okay. That's okay, though.
And then I know there was another dude. What was he, a psychologist or a counselor or something? Dunn?
That one same friend, she tried to tell him when the officer was doing it to her, and he started trying to do it to him also.
So with the cops, the cops just go along with it. What type of cops are these people?
They're like good old boys. They're all farmers. They farm together, and then they just stand up for each other. Just instance after instance of things that weren't right, that you have to deal with on a daily basis to make it out of there and keep your day. And do what you're supposed to do.
Do the women feel like they have to just play along in order to be okay?
A lot of times, I would say.
So where were these incidents happening? I mean, were you in a day room? Were you guys in cells?
Well, we had cells. We had our own key to our cells, but there's like caseworker rooms in the back that, like, say like you're an inmate that has more privileges because you don't get in trouble. Like, for instance, my friend, she was there for like a money crime. She didn't get in trouble. She was like a good older lady. So like she would be trusted to work in the media room, no cameras. So he would start attacking her, coming to her job. And so there's definitely places there that are not under camera that things happen.
Did he single her out because she was attractive or?
Probably. And naive. She's never lived the lifestyle. And for someone to be put into prison that, we lived a certain lifestyle, so we can survive. But somebody that doesn't have any clue, like if they don't have the right friends, they don't survive in there.
How old was she?
Like 54, maybe.
54. So this guy was raping a 54-year-old woman?
She's very pretty. She's a fitness trainer too, so she's stacked and, she's pretty.
How old was the cop? I seen his picture. He looked like he was kind of young.
Bearden was in the 50s too. Was
he? The pictures, I thought maybe he was a little bit younger. Do you think them cops think they're going to have like relationships with these chicks when they get out?
Some of them, they definitely lie to chicks and tell them that they're going to.
Yeah, are they just telling them that just to tell them that?
Probably.
What about guards sending money to women in there? You ever see that?
I heard it happened. I never witnessed it, but I've heard it's happened.
Did some of the girls think like, hey, I got this guy and he's going to bring this in for me and he's going to do that? Did the girls act like they were manipulating the cops?
There are people that I've heard of that continued relationships when they got out with officers.
Did any of them think they were going to manipulate the cops, or were they excited like, he's going to bring this into me or he's going to do this? Did you ever see incidents like that?
I didn't really hang out with people like that, so I don't know.
That's all right. So you're in this prison, this stuff's going on. How about, was it racially segregated? I don't know how women prisons work. I know how male prisons work in federal prison, but how does the women's prison work?
I mean, somewhat, but not bad.
Did you ever have any?
I got the cliques, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, did they have their own little cliques, their own little groups?
A little bit, yeah.
Were they catty?
If you let them be. Like, I played sports. I worked out. I was president or vice president of organizations in there, and I did work release for 4.5 years. So I got to leave the prison every day, and that helped a great deal.
When you left the prison, what were you doing when you left the prison?
Working for MoDOT or the city crews, chainsawing, trees down, mowing, hard physical labor every day.
You were putting that work. You were putting that work in for real, huh?
Yeah, but I got hurt. One of the MoDOT bosses dropped a tree on my back and knocked me 15-foot airborne, and I got like absolutely no medical care.
So now you have a paralegal certificate, right? You walk out of prison. What were you thinking the first day that you walk out of prison?
About starting over. I went to Kansas City, which I'm from Springfield, because when I went to prison, my kids were 10 and 12. When I got out, they were 18 and 20. So it was really going to be me, like empty nest. What am I going to do and how am I going to start over and rebuild what I've done? So I went to a halfway house. It was like a 90-day halfway house in Kansas City called Journey to a New Life, which was an awesome program. And then I got my own apartment. I got my son that was 17 at the time back from Division of Family Services, and was doing really good. I was managing a restaurant for a while, but I was lonely. I put my job and a relationship with an ex-boyfriend before God and my sobriety, which ended up leading to a relapse. And I ended up back in jail with a parole hold and a new Class A drug trafficking charge. In that cell, that was time that I really poured out and to my belief in God and why, and knowing that he picked me out of that situation, which was fixing to get real bad, and set me down there. And he placed an attorney in my life that she took my Class A drug trafficking for $750. But I had filed my own motions to suppress. And she said, how did you know to do that? And so I told her, like, I have a degree. I haven't used it in a long time. And she ended up kitting me out on a $25,000 bond with a parole hold and gave me a job at her law office. And it just took off from there. Like the blessings with the sobriety and my belief in God that have just flourished.
So, do you live in a rural area? Do you live in like an inner city, in the country? How'd you grow up?
Springfield, Missouri. It's like, I think it's probably the third biggest city in Missouri.
And so I want to know about how you grew up, though. How did you grow up? Did you grow up in a rough family? Was it a good household?
I grew up in a Christian family. We went to church 3 times a week. My parents drove the church bus, but my parents got divorced when we were 12. My dad's brother introduced me to drugs whenever I was 16. I was a straight A student, and he introduced me to methamphetamines, marijuana, alcohol, pretty much all at the same time. So I kind of jumped in running. He ended up molesting me, and I just took off from there. I used the drugs to numb the pain, and saw what I could get, the power and the control from selling drugs, and just lived in that abyss for a long time.
I'm very sorry to hear that, for real. So, how did you end up with the paralegal certificate? Was it in prison? Was it, why?
No, when I was married to my kid's dad, like when I had gotten away from my uncle, I went and I got my GED, and I got a scholarship for a year of college because of my score on my GED. And so I used that time to go to college, and I was working at a law office right after I graduated, and I went through a really bad divorce with the kid's dad, and he knew that I used to sell drugs and stuff, so he threw that in my face, and I lost my job. Bunch of other stuff happened, but that's what I knew. Selling drugs, it was easy, and I could do it, and I wouldn't be held, thrown in my face. So it was just really hard to get my foot back in a law office. That's why I know that God placed me back in jail this time and placed that lawyer in my life, because I had tried for many years to get back in a law office, and I think that was a turning point in my life whenever I lost that job that I kind of gave up. And so I'm very thankful for that lady.
So you enjoy doing what you're doing?
I love doing it. Every day I have people that I call and talk off the fence from relapsing. Just amazing stories of people that call and have me pray for them before court, or I just share my story, and I do understand, when they're, you don't understand, I'm in here, I need vomit, and I do get it, buddy, wait a minute. So it gives me a chance to give back and share my story with others where they can see that there is hope.
Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, and like you said, you do know, you've been there, you've been on the side that they're on, so you can see when people are sitting in there and they're like, I gotta get out of here, you don't understand, I got kids. But really 99% of the time, it's that drug addiction that they're chasing. Has nothing to do with their kids, right?
So, try not to cry on this one. I just lost my son. I bought him a car for his 22nd birthday, and we went to go get it, and he was killed in a car crash on the way home. So I just want people to know, if those years are important with their children, that it's time that you don't get back. And if they can do anything to change or work on themselves to be a better person, I just want them to know that it's so worth it.
That's, wow. I can only imagine, what you went through, what you're going through. And, I talk a lot about, fathers and mothers, being that father, being that mother that your kid could look up to. And, before they go to bed at night, just walk in there and say, hey, man, I want to let you know I love you. And unfortunately, I hate even talking about this, but you're in the position where you know how important it is.
I'm very thankful. I have a letter that he wrote me once, not very long ago. And he lived with me, so we were really close. So I am thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. I mean that. Let's talk a little bit more about, we'll get away from that. Let's talk a little bit more about prison. What was it like your first day when you walked into prison? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Did you?
Yeah, just scared. You're violated in every way. You feel like, if you've not done it before, if it's your first time to prison, you feel violated in every way. You don't know what you're doing, what to expect. It's just overwhelming. I remember my first day on the yard when because you start at one prison here and it's diagnostics and then they move you to the other one. So I remember my first day on the yard there, like I went to go find some friends so I could get the things I needed, situated. And some girl came up to me and introduced herself and I didn't even know she was hitting on me because I didn't know.
Do you see a lot of that in there?
Yeah.
I apologize about calling. I'm a little bit sick. I did a live yesterday and told everybody that, and I'm not cutting this stuff out. We're real and we're raw. So, people see everything. So these women, they want to press you as soon as you get there.
I got to get on the first night on the yard. I was like, what the hell? But they pretty much learn pretty quick, who is and who isn't.
Yeah. Do you think that stems from a lot of women being in prison and just being lonely and thirsty, looking for a
trying to fulfill that want or need that they think that's necessary that I don't understand.
Did you ever have to tell any chicks hey, listen, it's not like that, back off?
Not really. I don't think so. I think I probably put out that air about me that it wasn't, So.
I understand. Do chicks end up fighting over other chicks? And
yeah, that's about the only thing they fight over.
It gets pretty serious, huh?
Chick fights aren't always. They're not very serious to begin with, I would say, but In
a female prison and in that atmosphere, they don't have women stabbing each other and stuff like that, do they? None of that. What about group assaults? You ever see a bunch of chicks beat up one chick? Your volume.
2-on-1, but
yeah. So they do. They jump people 2-on-1. Your volume's going out on me.
There may be some girlfriends or something.
All right. So what was the one thing that you hated most about being in prison?
Not being able to be the mother that I was supposed to be to my kids.
Not being able to be the mother you were supposed to be to your kids.
Supposed to be, as a mother, I feel like you're supposed to protect your children, and I wasn't there to protect my kids while I was in prison.
What did your kids say to you when they came to visit you?
They love me, they miss me. I was actually in an organization that they have at Chillicothe called Patch, Parents and Their Children. And at one point I was treasurer and I think another point vice president. But so they had private rooms, 2 private rooms with the supervisor room in the middle. And mothers could have a 4-hour visit with their kids, kick their shoes off, roll around, basketball, all the games. Now you had to take parenting classes to be in that organization and to get those visits. And every time you got a visit, you did 3 more parenting classes. So it was trying to teach the women, how to be the best parent that they could be while they were in there. But as a reward, I got very good visits with my kid. Well, my younger son, the one that just passed, he came on those visits all the time. The other son, he came very seldom. He didn't like to see me behind bars. So
that's understandable. That's the other part of this is, you want your kids to be proud of who their mother is, who their father is, and say, that's my mom, that's my dad. And unfortunately, sometimes we make decisions, right? Irrational, irresponsible choices that hurt other people. It doesn't just hurt ourselves. And it's pretty obvious that it struck a chord with you because you're out here doing the right thing now. How does it feel to get up and go to work every day?
It feels wonderful. I'm there 30 to 45 minutes early every day. I mean, it's my peace.
What does it feel like to be able to take your son out to dinner?
Really good. To be able to buy that car for him, or take this one out to eat or buy the clothes that he needs. It's nice. I'm going to Florida in 10 days. I go all the time. I can do what I want. It's nice. I have a bank account and car and
all them good things. All the things that you have are all the things that people
for them. They are not cheaply ill-gotten.
And even in the drug game, you ever see numerous people that sell drugs, they don't ever get what they thought they were going to get when they were doing it, right? They get a nice car here and there, but they're not really buying houses off selling drugs or being out there hustling, right?
Right.
How many houses did you buy when you were selling drugs?
None.
None.
Wouldn't keep them one that long.
How many cars do you buy? Brand new cars off the lot, $30,000, $40,000 car. None? Your volume keeps dying.
Disposables. I know you're going up and down too, so I'm not sure why. Because I have mine sitting up off my speaker.
Let me see.
Yeah.
So you bought no houses, you bought no cars, but what you did get was a, what, 12-year sentence?
12-year sentence, yeah.
That's what the streets did for you. They got you a 12-year sentence.
Exactly what they did for me. Lost valuable years of my life with my children, and instead of just being a single mom, then they had no parent. You know.
Do you think you'll ever go back to prison?
No.
Are you committed to never going back?
Committed to never going back.
What's your motivation?
Excelling. Doing what I always wanted to do with myself, being able to help others and give back, and being who God destined me to be.
So you're a paralegal working at a law firm, you're thinking about going to law school?
Well, I have felonies that can't be expunged, so I know I couldn't in Missouri, and I don't know. I would like to. Or I thought about drug and alcohol counseling and mix the two.
Yeah.
Like if maybe I could do that with the paralegal, like helping people on the legal side when they're in treatment centers or something. I don't know. I've been thinking about different things.
Do you know who Sean Hopwood is? I'm going to tell you who Sean Hopwood is. He was a friend of mine, still a friend of mine. He went to federal prison for armed bank robbery. I think he did 11 years. Became a jailhouse lawyer in prison. Went home, got a law degree, became a law professor at Georgetown. He worked closely with the White House on criminal justice reform. I don't know what your rules are there in Missouri, but I'm pretty sure you can be an attorney. A lot of things have changed.
I think in Missouri I can't, but I know that I can in some states.
I think you can. I'm going to check it for you. I want to find out. And I'm sure Eddie Cox will probably,
You got to get me his number and stuff.
Yeah, I will.
So, did you do time in Marion also?
No, I've been in different places. My first prison was USP Big Sandy. I was in Polar.
Well, I have a friend here that's involved in the church and the recovery homes, Jason Swihart. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
He went for bank robbery when he was 15 to the feds, and he did 21 years and was convicted of the Riot Act and did his own cases, and he beat it in appeals. But he did 21 years on a 10-year sentence in the feds.
Wow.
I just wondered if you knew him.
I don't, but I'll Google him. So listen, what message? You're like one of the first women that ever been to prison that I've ever interviewed. I interviewed one other woman. People wanted me to interview a woman, so things worked out perfectly. But other little girls that are, we see so many girls that end up involved in, drugs and prostitution, and a lot of times women unfortunately end up in prison because their baby's father or someone's involved in the drug trade. They're delivering drugs, and they're living an all right life. They got nice shoes. I guess now they're getting their eyelashes done, their hair done, and they're living this life. But they didn't got no money in their pocket. But it's their boyfriend. They end up in prison. Some of them end up in prison with 20, 30 years. Doing a case now with a chick that's got 35 years, and really it was her husband. So what message would you give to little girls right now, or young teenage girls that are on the wrong path, that are involved in drugs and, even prostitution? I mean, we're going to call it what it is. That's what ends up happening. What message would you give them?
I would just tell them that they've got their whole life ahead of them, that they are enough, that they are loved, and that anything that they're going through, they can bring it to someone, find someone that they trust, maybe in a church, a counselor, someone that they love and that they can trust, and take to them whatever they're going through, and just to believe in yourself and want to get better for yourself and keep pushing forward, never give up, and never just lay down. You've got to keep getting up and moving forward. That's what I got.
I appreciate that.
I'm prepared for that.
It's all good. Listen, I want to ask you a question before we do close. The cop that's in there raping women and the counselor, there's a big lawsuit about it. I Googled it. I checked it out. I read the lawsuit. What do you think should happen to people like that?
Shouldn't get their retirement, and they should end up in prison just the same. I feel like they should almost be held to a higher standard, at least the same standard, but they're put in there to protect the people, the inmates, not to demeanor them, to rape them, to just treat them like they're not human. And that happens all too often.
You think they're either one of them are going to jail over this?
That already has, and I hope yours does.
Oh, one has gone to jail.
I believe so.
How much time did he get?
I think he started out with 5 years probation until they found him on another girl.
So he got less time than you for raping women, and you had a nonviolent drug crime and ended up with 12 years in Missouri. That's an injustice, if you ask me.
Our system needs to change.
So, Teresa, I'm going to close the show and just tell you, man, I appreciate you and coming on the show, sharing your story, your message of hope. And honestly, I feel really bad about your son, but, you know, you're a firm believer in Christ, and just keep pushing and know that it will get greater later, all right?
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
All right. Blood on the Razor Wire TV, with respect. We're out of here. Catch us tomorrow. Hope you like it. Share it. Comment. And make sure you subscribe. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.